Alright, the time is here to create the most insane hypothesis known to humankind before I go back to discussing more down-to-earth stuff and delivering my crazy takes on it. Destiny waves. Or should it firstly just be called an idea? And maybe not a hypothesis. But who cares? I don't take it too seriously though. I might have started the subconscious journey into this idea because someone once laughed at me for taking the word destiny somewhat seriously. Well, I do not have any contact with this person anymore since it was merely a colleague and it's been 15 years at least since I talked to him. But I'm that kind of a person that would use ridiculously amounts of energy to prove that I can do things other people are certain I never would be able to pull off. Even just to prove that a word has real meaning in the real world, even if it may not. Most of the times it was a blast, and I learned new skills, old philosophy, science or history, and it widened my horizon. Other times I gave up, or realized I had to learn a lot of other stuff before I could even touch this area of science, art, or whatever it was. And while trying to learn these new things, I forgot about the initial goal, and it just drifted off. But when it comes to destiny waves, it's just a too insanely broad scope to not let go once the idea emerged. And remember, there are a lot of people who believe that free will is an illusion. So then they should definitely believe in destiny, right? If not, they are giving the free will movement a great hope to latch onto. And the illusion of free will is a tempting thing to believe. I read a book about it once, and the author made a lot of really good points. But back to destiny and destiny waves. Here we go. It's not hard to fathom how unfathomably large the universe is, and also how unfathomably small its smallest parts are. But what about everything in the middle? What about galaxies, moons, cows, tardigrades? Those tiny little bear look-alike creatures that probably considers a tiny droplet of water, a weird, vast ocean bubble held together by nothing. A seemingly closed system, its own world. Now, that aside, imagine every relatively closed system, it being a being of sorts, or a cell of many making up such a being, or a celestial body, or a group of celestial bodies making up a larger system, living inside their own level of destiny, of which lower levels hardly are able to challenge. Inanimate things being those most stable. Imagine a universe with no life, everything just clocking along, space-time, nuclear forces, electromagnetism, dark matter, dark energy, doing their thing, even if some are weakly understood. They still do what they're supposed to do. And if there are no one around to question why they do what they do, who cares? Caring wouldn't even have been invented. The larger you are of a system, the harder it is for a smaller player inside that system to do anything about the outcome of the system at whole. And then, imagine the ultimate fate of the universe, the greatest system, most likely set in stone as to not break any laws of thermodynamics. Even if we, at this point, can't be really certain what the fate is. Imagine the cosmos in its entirety being the ultimate wave, 1 Hertz, 1 cycle. If there are no outside forces, nothing can mess with it. But inside, a lot of mess can occur, but it has to settle sooner or later. Imagine that mess being everything that makes up the universe, and that inside this 1 cycle are more cycles. And the closer you get to the middle, or likewise, like a golden ratio or something, the greater the chaos and the most cycles within cycles, waves within waves. Higher and higher frequencies as it spirals inwards and downwards to life itself, a new player growing in numbers and intelligence until it seeks to change the universe itself. Destroy, build, move, implode. Humankind has already fantasized moving stars, building black holes, and so on. We could definitely do a lot of harm to the progress of things. But could we change the outcome of the universe? To put things into a more relevant perspective, let's look at someone who is beneath us, living relatively mindlessly on a much lower level, with higher frequency, a life cycle that is nothing compared to ours. We can smash it to smithereens like it's no thing, although it's rather hard sometimes. Consider the fly. There's a saying in my country, a small fly can topple a whole hill. It's hard to translate because we have our own word for an anthill. And it's not meant that it could topple a large heap of dirt hill or something. But nothing's impossible, they say. Well, that's mostly correct anyway. Imagine how much progress we've made, how far we have come, how far we've traveled. Unless we destroy ourselves, we will certainly reach other stars someday. We'll evolve, live longer, and level up on the destiny wave chart, and reach a lower frequency, getting closer to our most trusted and beloved friend, the universe. But still, any living or inanimate thing, down to the silly molecule that doesn't want to travel from the cold to the hot zone like statistics tells it to do, can potentially topple it all. Unless, of course, if it was absolutely everything, it can't topple that. Or else, my hypothesis/idea is screwed. Much like you would be screwed by a tiny little stupid fly, driving along the highway, gazing at life, grinning at how well you're doing, the new job you recently got, how it enabled you to buy a convertible. You take your sunglasses off for a brief moment to scratch an itch on your eye, one of those annoying little things that even rock stars, royalties, and business billionaires have to live with. And as you are about to open it again and put your sunglasses back on, a tiny little stupid fly does not get smashed on your windshield, but just barely avoids it, gets caught in the airstream that flows from the top of your windshield down towards your face, and it flies into your mouth. Since you were driving way above speed limits, of course, you're high on yourself, and speed blindness set in faster than usual once you hit that open road, so the impact is sudden. As you cough and you cough, you lose control over your car, you careen off the road, the car topples over, and bang, it's all over. For you at least. The fly, on the other hand, got lucky, because you managed to cough it out before you crashed, and an airstream sent it back out into safe flight. Probably hurt, most likely shaken, but alive to see another day, or however many days it had left to live anyway, in its stupid short lifespan. Well, I'm sure something like that, or vaguely similar, has happened to someone, at least when it comes to life versus life. But how far can a fly go to wreak havoc? It's entirely possible that flies will be among us for quite the foreseeable future if we don't go mental on gene editing and we end up destroying ourselves before we were even able to prove the brilliant scientist Freeman Dyson writes that we one day might be able to harvest the entire energy of the sun by building a giant mirror of sorts around our solar system. And of course, we wouldn't forget our prophet and name it the Dyson Sphere. Imagine getting that far, putting together all those modules required to create such an amazing construct. Although only minor problem being assembling it all, given we have only speed of light communication to rely on. It all had to become some insane equation, taking all the possible problems that could arise into equation. Wow. How easy it would be for a fly to topple that whole thing and just send us back to the Stone Age. If even that was an option. All those giant constructions collapsing, causing havoc in our entire solar system over decades and millennia, disturbing gravitational forces. An obvious side note here is that if we ever got as far as to create a Dyson sphere, we could probably not do it if we hadn't figured out spooky actions at distance. In other words, figuring out how to control quantum entanglement. There's no way we could build something like that without instant communications across vast distances of space. Because even within our own solar system, you don't have to travel far before communications slows down. However, in the end, far beyond our existence, to whatever the end is the universe destined to end itself, and can it only end in one way? If so, destiny waves can make sense. There's something I thought about that I came to name the Great Chaos. It's the ultimate moment of entropy. In our eyes, at least, the most diverse moment in the history of conscious life in the universe, before it scales down and disappears because chaos no longer becomes great. It becomes sad, soon deceased. It can't keep it together. Stars must die. Less stars are created. More black holes and whatever dark matter and dark energy puts into the mix. I have no idea if this is exactly how it happens, but in the great chaotic bubble, which I believe we're just heading into, we have billions of years of play, from small to great destinies, but perhaps not the greatest one of them all, the end of the biggest cycle. But we may live as a species, hopefully through millions of life cycles in an ever-changing, developing cosmos, experiencing more connectedness, more awareness, more fullness, until the peak of the cycle. Have an exceptional day, and remember, you can make a difference, a huge difference. You can get us closer to the great chaos where all our sci-fi fantasies may come through. Space mining, space travel, space trade with space aliens, and so on. In the end, it probably can just be translated into being statistics, but that just sounds so boring and gives you less incentive to cut loose from the illusion of free will mindset, and maybe rather go for the will of chance. Someone's gonna make it. There's a chance you might be the one. Create your own destiny, or else. Else what? I have no idea. Maybe you stumble on a gold bar and make it anyway. Who knows? There are two things we can be certain of though. The universe cares, and at the same time, it doesn't. But how can we be certain that it even knows what caring means? How are we, its offspring, touting on and on about caring about everything, even able to ask these questions in the first place? You ask me? Something's fishy about the whole thing.